start a new project. No, I did not forget about the last project. The 818 is still coming along, and even since I've purchased this new project, I haven't worked on it yet because I've been working on the 818, and I'm still hoping to get that registered and on the road this month. The new project requires a little bit of a backstory. My first car was a 95 240SX that my mom bought me when I was 19 or 20 back in the early 2000s, and I loved it. And I love doing burnouts, and I love doing figure eights and fishtail everywhere. Drifting was just becoming a thing then. It wasn't a thing in the part of the country I was in. But you know, my version of drifting at the time, I just loved it. But with circumstance, I ended up moving to the other side of the country. And then I started a family, and that car, unfortunately, never made it. It rusted away beyond saving. And at that point, I had already moved on and was going to get the 818. I autocrossed my 240 and I loved it. I've always loved circuit racing. I'm a big Formula One fan. I love going to the go-karts. And when I was in Vegas 5-6 years ago, I did that dream racing at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. You go in the infield in the Ferraris, slick tires, cage, race exhaust. If you ever get a chance, it was pretty wild, and that kind of solidified that, pulling high G's through corners is my thing. So it was shortly after that I pulled the plug and ordered the 818, and I can't wait to take that on the track. So don't think that I've gotten bored of this over 4.5 years that I've had it. Not at all. It's just that since then I've kind of been, since I started this build, I started watching a lot of YouTube channels, and maybe they were on the go before, I'm not sure, but it's only the past couple of years that I've kind of been hooked on YouTube channels like Hoonigan or Adam LZ, Taylor Ray, Offbeat Garage. There's a lot of really good drift focused YouTube channels that I just have gravitated to. I mean, there's a lot more other car ones that I've enjoyed, like Bad Obsession Motorsports. I mean, Project Binky, if you're not familiar with it, then you had to check it out. It's awesome. And that couldn't be further away from drifting. It's just I feel like I keep getting drawn back to this drifting thing and reminiscing with driving my 240 like 15 years ago. So with the 818 almost to the point where it's not going to be finished, but I'm going to be able to start enjoying it, I've had the itch for another project. And while I still want to do the 3 projects I have around the garage here, I wanted something that wasn't such a big project. Like the bike and the rat rod, they're all just, again, huge projects, and I wanted something that was, I could tinker with for a weekend, or took a week to take something apart and put it back together, and then I was enjoying it again. And I also wanted to do it on a budget, because I don't think I'll ever do the math, but I must be north of 40K into Canadian into this 818, and I'm by no means rich, and I have other obligations. So a budget was the strictest constraint on what I would pick. I looked at 240s. I like to be different, which is why I did the 818. So I reluctantly looked at 240s. But we're talking, like 30-year-old cars that are still going for $4 or $5 grand. Again, Canadian. For stock with the KA, and I mean I drove a car with a KA, and it was nothing special. Then I looked at a few other options. We got a lot of JDM cars up here that you don't get in the US because they only need to be 15 years old for us, as opposed to the 25 years for you guys. Once upon a time, you could get an R32 for real cheap, but now they can be imported in the US, so those prices have just skyrocketed. So I did think about a Skyline, but For a base rear-wheel drive Skyline, I'm looking at least 10 grand for a shell, and that was more than I wanted to spend. There was a few Toyota 4-doors. They go by all different names, but the JDM 4-doors with the 1JZs. Again, they were 6-7 grand, and this is that's the price you're paying to start the platform. And there's obviously going to be money spent on modifications, and it was still more than I wanted to spend. I wanted to be sub 5 grand for sure, and I wanted to be different. So let me just show you. I got an RX-8. Sorry it's hard to see me here, but the car is the point of this. So you might be wondering, well, how much did I get it for? I mean, it's sub 5 grand, so what's wrong with it? The motor must be blown. I actually got it for $2,400 Canadian, so just over $1,800 US. So now you're thinking the motor must be blown. It's not. I checked the compression, and the motor was actually replaced. Well, I don't have the receipts. The story is that the motor was replaced about 9 months ago, and compression seems to back that up because it's about just under 120 psi across the board, which is phenomenal. A lot of rebuilt motors don't start that high. The reason I got it for $2,400 is that. So the story is from the lady I bought it from. She bought it for her kid. He's like 19, just going to university, and they've had it for about 2 years. But 9 months ago, they blew the motor. I didn't get any details on why. And then just 2 months ago, he was out driving it, following his friend, and rear-ended her, actually just around the corner from my house, and smashed his corner end. And they just decided they were done. They were gonna have to give him a vehicle. They didn't want to pay to fix this. They didn't want to go through insurance because he's 19 and they're paying his insurance. So they just had it towed to their house and sold it for what they could get. They were asking $3,500 for about a month. They didn't get any bites, and then they put it up, and I nabbed it a little cheaper, and I nabbed it for $2,400. So as far as the damage the parts I need to replace, fender for sure, the headlight, front bumper, the bumper support, which I may or may not just replace with a bash bar. There's a bracket in behind the fender. It's almost like the rad support, but I don't think it's actually part of the rad support, that holds the oil cooler and the headlight and the fender bolts to it. That's completely gone. This wheel is wrecked right here. Obviously the tire, the brake rotor was actually cracked in the accident, and the tie rod pulled straight out of the steering column. But today I'm just going to strip this thing apart and see the full extent of the damage.
guys, that's it for today. I just wanted to get everything off that needed to come off. The steering rack was the only thing that was a little tricky to get off. Once you remove those lower rad brackets and you know, just a little bit of force to pull it off of the shaft, off the column I should say, it came out fairly easy. I'd seen one video online where you had to remove the gearbox to remove some wiring. It's not necessary. I was able to just 2 clips, sensor clips to undo underneath the transmission, and one 10mm bolt for ground, and that's it. So later on today I'm going to head to the scrapyard, see what I can get, and hopefully there'll be a part 2 to this video very soon with me putting everything back together, and then we can get into modifications and drifting. So if you like this video, go ahead, like it, maybe hit the subscribe button. Appreciate all the love, and any comments on RX-8s in general, tips, tricks to, you know, with RX-8s with regards to drifting or just general life and maintenance. I'm going to get into a little bit more of that. I sprayed everything underneath with some degreaser. There's definitely been some oil leaks, but where it's not the original engine, I'm not sure what's new, what's old, so I'm going to try to clean everything off, and hopefully there's nothing too wrong in there, but compression's good, so that's all that matters to me. Everything else is easy enough to fix. So until next time, hopefully soon, peace.